Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, Friday night edition, Memorial Day weekend 2024. This year is flying by. I'm sure most all of us don't have to look very far back in our family history to find loved ones that were lost in the line of duty. That's what this weekend's all about. Don't mean to start off in a somber tone, but it always hits you when you think about it. You know, the ultimate sacrifice, right? Anyway, switching gears, my channel, my YouTube channel, Mountains Garage, it's always had steady growth since I started it 3 or 4 years ago. I actually have lost track. I have over 500 videos and I am on the verge. I checked before I started making this video. I am 11 subscribers away from 10,000 of you wonderful folks who have hit the subscribe button. In the beginning, like everybody else, I'd always say like and subscribe, and then I realized you're either going to do it on your own or you're not, and about 250 people a month do subscribe, which is awesome. At any given point, I might put a video out. I don't know what it's going to be about. It only takes one, and next thing you know, you have 100,000 subscribers. But I'm not there yet. I haven't done that. I haven't even tried to do anything, beyond the norm, my norm. I bring you into my world. I share you with what I have going on, or what I happen to be working about or talking about. The transmission videos, specifically the Turbo 400 ones, have certainly helped my popularity, if you will, in that area. That's got me the majority of my subscribers and views. Believe it or not, a video like this does pretty well. Just a what's going on video. And I should do more of that, maybe. At least I try to do them once a week. It's been a few weeks since I've done anything, probably a month and a half, because let's get you caught up. As you know, I bought a Lenco 4-speed transmission from a friend of mine. When I got the Race 55 a year and a half ago, I knew it was originally going to have a Lenco in it. I once raced Top Sportsman, NHRA and IHRA Top Sportsman with a 5-speed Lenco that, very similar circumstances, when I bought it, I spent every dime I had available. In fact, when I bought the first Lenco, I joked to myself that if times got hard, I would find an old 6-cylinder Chevy pickup and put that transmission in it and drive it to work if I had nothing else and I could live in the back of it. But I would never part with it. I eventually parted with it. Still mad about myself for that. If you ever get your hands on something as exotic as a Lenco, I mean, if you have a pile of money, you can just go buy one, but the majority of us don't have a pile of money, so you got to scrimp and save. So I had got to the point this spring I was going to try to focus on my own projects more and maybe do a few less hours standing here working on transmissions for other people and whatever other work that might come in. But I made the decision. I mean, I build Turbo 400s for a living. I should run a Turbo 400 in the car. This project doesn't have to make sense. I got a vision in my head, and I still have a Turbo 400 for the car, and I'm going to make the cross member and another drive shaft. I'll be able to put it in if I want to. Like I said, it's going to have, initially, the Turbo LFs that you see in the thumbnail for this video. It's going to have the 4-speed Lenco and a 9-inch Ford with probably a 457 gear and big rear tires. But eventually, I want to be able to put a small tire on it if I want. I want to be able to put a small block or a big block Chevy in it, and a Turbo 400 Power Glide or the Lenco, or who knows. I have in my possession, and I'll never part with it, write that down. I bought a Rankin, R-A-N-K-I-N. They were a supplier to NASCAR and NASCAR alone, back when The Cup Series and others ran a T10 Borg-Warner designed or style Super T10 transmission. They were never made by Borg-Warner. These are all aftermarket. You're familiar with G-Force and Mid-Valley. There's a Rankin. They're all, G-Force is available to the public. The Rankin stuff, I believe, never was. It was just, they were a NASCAR supplier. But I believe all the parts interchange as well. Mine is a road race transmission. Cool story. Bought it from a nice gentleman over in New Hampshire. This was a spare that he had one in the car. He said he's never going to need the spare because it just didn't break. He shifts it clutchless up and down, the one in his car anyway, and has never had an issue with it. They're technically clutch assisted, but anyway. So when I'm online shopping for parts late at night, I'm always looking for odd stuff. A lot of the the NASCAR parts can be retrofitted into, street and or drag racing, high performance stuff. They don't scrimp on quality, that's for sure. Let me take a drink once again. I'm getting thirsty because I'm talking a lot. And it's been a fairly warm week and the pollen is everywhere. Everything's turning green. You just get past winter and then you start to get everything cleaned up, and then Mother Nature drops pollen all over everything, and when we get that cleaned up, we'll be all set. So anyway, back to the Rankin 4-speed. In my online shopping, I'm always looking, as you know, or if you don't know, I like to get old Hirsch shifters or new old stock or brand new Hirsch shifters or Mr. Gasket, and I build aluminum rods. My rods are aluminum, 3/8 fine thread left and right hand, and I get rid of this, the stock bent up metal rods, and I put rod ends, and they make a really nice feeling shifter. So shopping around the other night, here's one 11-inch rod, left and right hand. They swedge these. This is big in the middle, swedged on either end. I believe this is made by Long, L-O-N-G. And this was $7. I mean, I couldn't pass it up. I may use it for who knows what. A push-pull rod for my power shut off, who knows. It's aluminum, swedged, really cool. But this I could absolutely not pass up. I think I paid $17 for it. It's a genuine Rankin, brand new side cover for my 4-speed. I believe it has these extra brackets because I have a dropout cluster. When the transmission goes in high gear, it stops turning the lower cluster. NASCAR trick, supposed to make more power that way because it's less rotating parts, but absolutely brand new. So I got, with shipping, maybe $40 in both these parts. I didn't need either one, but this is the kind of stuff that interests me, so here it sits. This bag of coils, I was lucky enough, they were dropped off today. I had to pay for them, of course, but the two gentlemen that I got the Dot Ilmore block and the Ilmore heads and all my Ilmore parts. He was driving from his house to the location where most of the engine parts are, a few towns over. And he says, I'm going to stop by and show you a set of heads that I have. He had another set of the Dot Ilmore heads. Unfortunately, today it wasn't in the budget. Well, if they were the same price point as the ones I bought, I probably would have bought them, but they'd also gone up substantially, and they weren't as nice as the ones I have, so I did not buy them. A decision I might regret because they'll sell fast, I'm sure, but either way, I did buy, at a wicked deal, 9 coils, so the automatically comes with the spare, and the coil harnesses, which I didn't have. So I have secured, I had the engine harness from Ilmore with the big plug that you bolt to the firewall. A viewer hooked me up with the cab harness, the interior harness. We'd mount the ECU inside. I think I've struck a deal with my buddy John for an HP ECU. I'd like to have a Dominator, but I'll settle for an HP, which what the Ilmore engine would have had anyway, but not that it matters. But I have less inputs that I want to put in there now without the Turbo 400, at least initially. I don't have much transmission input going into my Holly that I envision so far. I probably will have drive shaft RPM and maybe input shaft RPM, because my input shaft does have a magnet on it, but we'll see. But without an adjustable clutch or a really fancy clutch, I don't know how much of that information I really need right off the bat. So anyway, I'll just keep collecting parts one at a time. But did I ever finish my story? So anyway, I spent all my money on the Lenco I have now, and I took the time in between jobs because I actually was almost caught up and wasn't really actively seeking any more works. Maybe I went on vacation and whatnot, and then I got slammed with work to do. I had to take it all in and do it because I needed to pay for that transmission. But anyway, we're almost, you know, I mean, in my world, I can look down and stare at my bench and work on transmissions. The next thing I know, months and years go by, and I've accomplished nothing of my own projects. I did pretty good, you know, last fall and winter balancing it, but sometimes it gets really lopsided. I'm sure it does for you too. I'm not complaining, but almost back to doing, you know, some fun stuff with a light load of transmission stuff, which it always seems there's 2 or 3 more to do. That may never change, but that's okay. Speaking of the Race 55, as luck would have it, and I explained in the last Lenco video, that the ST 1200, the front section, the forward section, is made to fit a regular GM, Ford, or Dodge bell housing. It has, you know, it bolts on like a traditional 4-speed would, which is awesome. And I have the bell housing I have in the car is a traditional GM with a throw-up fork is horizontal. My pedals pivot at the bottom, and I'm building a shaft that would stick down, so when you step on the pedal, it pulls back, and that will pull the fork back. However, there's a pretty bad misalignment with the shaft coming out horizontally. If this was a traditional Lenco, and as luck would have it, now that I don't have a traditional Lenco or the need for a traditional Lenco bell housing, 2 or 3 of them pop up which have what is called a candlestick in it, which is a shaft with bushings made into the housing, and there's a rod on the outside, and the fork on the inside moves the throw-up bar. I don't know if you can see my hands, but that drops down and would line up with my linkage quite nicely. That's how my orange car was, my Camaro. But out in the shed, I have a brand new Lakewood Chevy 2 bell housing, where in the Chevy 2, because the floorboard clearance, instead of the throw-up bearing being, the throw-up fork being horizontal, it's actually down here about, I don't know, 7 o'clock, and that will line up much nicer. I bought a brand new fork, and I cut the end off, and I make it so a rod end fits it. So I'm going to swap bell housings. I have the transmission mocked up in the car. I crawled up inside, and I like the shifter position, which saves me a lot of work and hassle. If I moved it to the reverser, I think it would be uncomfortable. I'd rather have to reach forward. It should be on just about the same plane as my steering wheel. I mean, if you can reach the steering wheel, you can reach the shifters. So, and you're pulling back this way, you don't want to come too far back. So, I mean, you only have so many choices unless you're going to make a really custom bracket, and I think I'm happy where it's at. So that worked out. I ended up from my friend that I bought the Lenco 4-speed from, believe it or not, I mean, he has a 71 or 2 Duster, 70, 71, 72, I should know this. And he has stock engine placement, I assume, transmission placement with the 4-speed Lenco. He had a carbon fiber drive shaft in it that he told me when I picked up the transmission just to take it and see if it would fit. Well, it pretty much fits. I'm within a 1/4 inch, and I haven't really centered my rear end in the wheel well yet, so I can cheat a 1/4 inch, but I believe I'll be able to run the carbon fiber drive shaft that I had to buy additional. So not only did I buy the transmission, I ended up buying, he had a spare gear set and the drive shaft, and a few other bills came due. So I was really underwater there for a while. I don't like that feeling when I'm spending money on fun parts. I want to be able to just pay for it, and I got to have the money for it. So that's the way I operate. There's no charging anything or owing anybody. You have to pay for it. In this case, I borrowed a little bit from my wife, and I was afraid she was going to, make me disappear in my sleep if I didn't pay her back within a few weeks. We laugh about that. So Anyway, next subject. I have been cleaning in the background, trying to organize. The extension on the garage is pretty much all engine stuff, and I've been trying to organize that while making room to have another project in there. Probably a hot rod frame. They take up less space than a whole car. I'll never have enough space for all my projects. I wish I did, but I don't. But I'm not going to complain once again, even though it sounds like I am. I'm not. But, you know, if you can close your eyes and dream, I'd have a building big enough that each project would have its own area with all the parts that belong to it in one spot and still room to do other stuff. But that is a pipe dream. But even no matter how busy I am, how much I got going on, I'm always dreaming of my projects. That's what keeps me going. And I have several more I'd like to start and, you know, do videos on. The additional projects always seem to come along. I regret the few that I have passed along and not either finished or even started on. They haunt me. I don't know if you have this problem or not, seller's remorse, but it doesn't matter if I have 14 or 15 projects I may never finish. My intent is to finish them. I'm always looking for more. Tonight, after I go in and eat, which I'm going to do in a few minutes, and get settled in, I'll probably be online shopping for projects just to see what's out there. But it's funny, if you ever have like a project you want to trade, while you have it, for instance, I had that Harley Davidson. I decided I was going to trade that for something else, and nobody was interested. As soon as you get rid of it in a different deal, every other ad you look at a cool street rod or something, the guy says, oh yeah, we'll take a Harley and trade. That's just the way it goes. So I've babbled long enough. Thanks for watching. If 11 people out there could just hit the subscribe button, maybe we could hit 10,000 this weekend. Statistically, it says I'm going to anyway, but it would be fun to get over that hurdle. Enjoy your weekend, a long weekend for most of us, and I'll catch you soon. Take her easy.